Hello, Confluence. This is Dr. Sean Stearns from the Rhino Natural Grocers in Denver, Colorado. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make Karen's incredible edible coconut oil fudge. I guarantee it's going to be easier to eat than it is to say. So to get us started here, and just so you know, this recipe is part of a class that I teach called Health by Chocolate, for those of you that are not in the Confluence audience today. And moving on into this, the tools you're going to need are a mixing bowl, a 8x8 glass pan, a spatula for getting different things out of our measuring cups, and for our measuring cups we have a 1/4 cup, a half cup, and a full cup. We also will be using our tablespoon here, and I have 2 glass bowls that are filled with pre-softened coconut oil, and we'll also be using a spatula to both kind of mix the dry ingredients a little bit, as well as to mix our coconut oil and almond butter that we'll be using later. And so for our ingredients, what we have today, we're going to be using 6 tablespoons of our coconut oil. We're going to be using 1 cup of almond butter. We're going to be using 1/4 cup of xylitol. I swear I know where these things are. We'll also be using 3 tablespoons of our cocoa powder. I'm not going to touch them too much because it took forever to get them to stand up this way. And 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. And we'll also be using a half cup of shredded coconut, unsweetened, of course, and a half bag of freeze-dried raspberries. And these are Karen's Naturals Just Raspberries that we carry here in the store. Okay, and to get started, first thing we're going to do is take my pre-softened coconut oil, add this to our 8x8 glass baking pan here. Once we do that, then I'll take my almond butter, and you want to let your almond butter come to room temperature if you can, and do our 1 cup of that, and it's about, it's like a solid cup. Then just use your spatula to kind of scoop it out into the coconut oil. Careful not to let it splash into there. You don't want to get yourself covered in coconut oil. So make sure you're wearing an apron as well to protect you from that possibility. All right, get all this delicious almond butter out. All right. And that's all we need the 1 cup for. And I'm just going to use the spatula to kind of smooth out the almond butter here into our coconut oil. Again, make sure that you're careful not to splash this all over yourself, so just take your time. So we're just taking our time, not covering myself in coconut oil. I don't want to get covered in almond butter either, so I guess both of those consequences are not exciting. All right. And doing this now is just going to make it easier to blend in your dry ingredients later. Okay. And just so you know, one thing that you can do as well to kind of make this stuff melt a little faster is to put your glass baking pan into a larger container with some hot water. All right. Okay, looking pretty good. let's move on to our dry ingredients. So the first thing we're going to do is our 1/4 cup of xylitol. Again, half the glycemic index of sugar, so this is a healthier alternative. Get that in our bowl. Next thing we need here is going to be 3 tablespoons of our cocoa powder. It wouldn't be fudge without cocoa powder, so let's get this going, if I can. There we go. One tablespoon, 2, and 3 tablespoons. So we're getting a good amount of cocoa in there. Health by chocolate, you gotta have some chocolate. Next thing I'm gonna do is get our 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Just throw that in there. And then we'll do get our 1/2 cup there it is. 1/2 cup of our shredded coconut. Again, unsweetened. Drop that in there. And then we're going to use 1/2 a container of this. So really you just kind of want to eyeball it because you're going to want to make 2 batches of this. Let's be honest. All right, I think we're good. So now I'll just take my spatula and this is not a spatula, this is a whisk. And with this whisk, I'm going to combine all of our ingredients here. Just so you're not getting one part of this that has chocolate and then one part that has cinnamon, because that's not going to be exciting. All right, so now we got that set up. And then we're just going to add this to our mix of coconut oil and almond butter. And from here, we're just going to blend this in until it's about as even as you can get it. It's going to be chunky, don't worry about that. With those raspberries in there, you're going to want it to be chunky so you can taste those delicious freeze-dried raspberries. So we're just going to keep blending this. Again, careful not to splash yourself and waste this delicious treat that you'll be consuming very shortly. And there we go. Okay, now that that's been evenly blended, here you can kind of get a view of it. You just want to let it rest flat, and then I will put this in the fridge, let it cool overnight, and then once it's done we can cut it up into squares, which you will be tasting very shortly. And once you're done with whatever it is that you're going to eat for the day, just keep it stored in the fridge. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy your delicious treats, and